This edition, we're in the vibrant city of Malaga in Andalusia, Spain. One of the most popular Mediterranean port stops that you'll find on almost every cruise ship's itinerary. Welcome back to the Ritzy Travel Guide and our ongoing cruise guide, where we help you decide if it's a great port of call to visit or not. If you haven't seen our cruise guide series before, each episode we rate the port on a number of factors. There are always 6 criteria we rank each port of call for: how accessible it is from the ship, what sights you can expect to see in town, and what food there is on offer, because we all like to sample regional cuisine. And can you self-tour, or should you buy a ship's excursion? And finally, right at the end, our conclusion: is this port of call a hit or a miss? Would you like it? On this occasion, we were with the MSC Cruises and their megaship, the Virtuosa. 7 o'clock in the morning, and we've arrived in Malaga. There's always a great buzz when you arrive in a port, coming on deck, seeing what's going on. Really looking forward to this port, got a lot of things planned. Now, the weather forecast for Malaga today is a scorcher. It's supposed to be 39 centigrade. So far we've got a mist. Let's hope it holds, because who wants to walk around in almost 40 degrees centigrade? To get into Malaga, you can either book a ship's tour, or you can do some self-discovery and walk in yourself. And here is the aerial route. Now, it's a very straightforward, level walk in. This is the cruise terminal you arrive at. You then toddle along the waterfront. And it's quite glamorous, Malaga. And best of all, it's almost always sunny, almost always warm year-round. For that reason, it's one of the cruise ship's favourite destinations. Well, we're safely moored in Malaga. Let's have a little mooch into the old historic quarter. Okay, a little bit of orientation. There is the MSC Virtuosa now, because it's a big ship in Malaga. It's forced to moor quite a long way out. We've been taking a 10-15 minute stroll and we're not into town yet. But if you are on a more select, more exclusive cruise line, you moor right in town, right in the centre. There, you see, there's Seabourn, right by the cathedral, right by the historic centre. So that's what money gets you. If you can afford Seabourn, you are there. Just a hop and a skip. If you're on MSC or one of the more modern mega ships, you're all the way out there. You are, you pays your money and takes your choice. So, dear viewer, are you an MSC person over there, miles away? Or are you a Seabourn cruiser? The family is pretending they're on Seabourn. We're actually on MSC. Is it almost the same as Seabourn? I think not. So just to let you know, if you're on MSC or any of the big cruise ships, you will be quite a lot further out. It's a good 15, 20, 25 minutes walk, depending on how long it takes to walk you. But there is this easy-ish, raised, quite nice actually, sort of corniche, what would you call it? A boardwalk, a walkway, which takes you into town. So if it's early in the morning and you don't mind walking, then this is quite a nice stroll. If you attempt to do this in the middle of the day, and it's summer, you're going to find it hot.
Well, Freddie says you know you're in Seabourn because the only other vessel that shares your jetty is a yacht, and we are shared with the cranes.
Yes, MSC is moored out there with the cranes and the container ships. That is what happens when you're on a big ship. It's actually a very pleasant stroll into town. Well done, the town of Malaga, for producing this very nice elevated walkway into town. There is one of the activities we're going to be seeing today, is the old 14th century Moorish fort. Just taking a stroll a little bit further, right by where Seabourn is moored, and there's some really nice restaurants, al fresco, right by the waterfront. What caught my eye was this very nice setting here. It's like a huge cloche right by the waterfront. I suppose Seabourn is blocking their view, but there you are, Seabourn, and there, far away in the distance, right there behind there, there is the MSC. Hang on a minute, let's just get a better view. There we are, right there's the MSC, far away. So here we go, we've cleared the port area. Let's take a nice casual stroll into the centre of town. I see horses in the background. They're always good for a photo. Always like a nice horsey photo. There's something quintessentially old-fashioned and quaint about horses and carriages. We can all pretend to be royal or something special for a moment. Very pretty vista. Right at the bottom of the cathedral. I hear strolling musicians strolling by. And we're in Marqués de Larios, one of the main covered walkway shopping areas right through the centre of Malaga. And it's slightly canopied, which takes the heat right out of the day. It's a pretty stroll right through the centre. 9:30 in the morning, things have started to open up, and we've already seen any number of tempting eateries. Oh, look at that. Flamenco outfits. Anybody going to a flamenco? Is there a flamenco night on our holiday? Why no flamenco night? Ah, how about those? Now, I know what you're thinking. You'd look a bit odd walking round your neighbourhood town or village like that, but, well, would you dare? Would you try that? How much would you pay for said item? 129 euros. You see, now, I don't know. That could be an absolute bargain. Ah, sombrero casa. Anybody want a traditional looking Spanish hat? Does that suit somebody who's come off a cruise ship? What do we think? Does that look good? Stylish? What do we think? Loving the selection of meats and hams available. And even here on the other window, I wouldn't mind those on our cruise. How about those in the buffet? Wouldn't they be fantastic to be served those? Perhaps they could have a little regional section. We're visiting this country today, let's have one of those. Then you can imagine how the locals would eat, because I think that would be popular. Beautifully presented. Am I turning into a food blog here? Wasn't really supposed to be, but somehow the eyes and the attention are averted right here. All those hanging up there to age them beautifully. We're nearing the market, and already I see brightly coloured shops attracting me, like a beacon saying, come and film me. I think we have to go in. I feel the urge to go in. They are. Look at that. Rather fun, isn't it? Liking this sort of setup. Oh, stop me now, I'm out of control. Stop me now, I'm out of control. A rotisserie of meat, look at that. Oh, and those little portions. I am just tapas candy, I am. Okay, we've gone for two flavour. We got Sicilian lime, which is ultra tart, and we got mango. I tell you what, they are both very good. Tart and fruity. Fruity and tart? Yeah. It's like a cheesecake in a cone. Ooh. Nuts on a stick, toffee apples. Anybody feel like a caramello toffee apple? It's a very pretty tea house. Looking summery and pastel colours, and, well, if you're into pink, you'd quite like that. Ah, this is how we're supposed to dance and entertain ourselves and have soirees at home where we're supposed to arrive at the dining table with our guests like that. Should the waiters on board be presenting your food like that? Why aren't they? I think we should walk into the main dining room like that. Ole!
The tasting, so we have a go.
Is there a tasting going on here? Look at those barrels.
Not tasting, I mean, they just beers but in barrels.
It's like a little pub. How about that? All the barrels behind. Fabulous. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please do give it a thumbs up, as it lets us know it's the sort of material you're interested in, and we'll try to make more of it. By midday, the heat was absolutely sapping us. 39 centigrade or 102 Fahrenheit gets to you quickly, and we thought the best way of cooling down is to speed our way through the city right to the fort at the top on some segways. We're on a Segway tour. We're in Malaga, going along the seafront, and we thought, well, we walked along the town on foot this morning. Let's get the breeze in our hair and our faces and take a Segway. So we're buzzing along, and I tell you what, it's a lot cooler because today is a record temperature day. It is 39 centigrade, which is way over 110 Fahrenheit. And look at everybody. The town is on the beaches. Everybody is on the beaches. Look at that. What more perfect way to see Malaga than charging around on footpaths and slightly taking our life in granted. Up into the mountains we go. We're going to the old port area. Car. Oh, our guide almost didn't notice the car there. Had to do a bit of a avertive warning. There we go. Up into the mountain. Castillo de Gibraltar. The old fort. This is the 14th century fort, and I think we're going to go to an even older fort in a minute. Up we go. There we are. There are the various cruise ships in port. I can tell you what, that Segway tour was a huge amount of fun. We would thoroughly recommend it. Did you also take a Segway tour around Malaga or one of the surrounding ports? If so, let us know in the comments box below. It would be good to hear your stories. Right, now let's get ourselves in some history. Let's imagine we're all Romans and head off to the amphitheatre. Malaga really is a great site for history buffs. You don't just have to go to Italy to get it. And the amphitheatre dates back to the 1st century AD. Heading to the old historic quarter, which houses the 14th century Moorish fort and the Roman amphitheatre. There we go. It's almost the Appian Way. We've suddenly gone back 2,000 years. Hi Claudius, hail Caesar, and all that lot. We're imagining we're Romans. There are lions and gladiators down there, all ripping each other apart. Something equally atrocious like that. Chariots steaming in. Gladiators charging around. By the way, don't forget at the end of the video we have our final scoreboard for every aspect of Malaga, and we'll give it our overall rating. Next on our list, the Alcazaba, a famous 14th century fort dating back to when the Moors ruled that entire area of the Mediterranean, and you can see it the moment you arrive on your cruise ship because it's right perched up high. It comes from an Arabic word, Alcazaba, which means citadel. Aren't we quite the teacher today on the Ripsy Travel Guide? And in the 14th century, Malaga was under the control of the Emirate of Granada, and the Alcazaba was largely built by the Emir Muhammad II. Over time, it was then taken back by the Spanish conquistadors and remained a fort until the early 18th century. There's still quite a lot that remains, and makes for a gentle meander for an hour or so. And once you've got your fill on history, take a walk out to the balcony and spot your cruise ship from afar. Now, Malaga is also famous for its links to the artist Picasso, who was born in the city, and there is a collection of his works which is available for you to walk around in the Buena Vista Palace. And if you turn a corner and see this, you know you're in the right place because the queues to get in are legendary, so be prepared. When we were there, the queue was going back for at least 1 hour, so you may wish to go and get a skip the queue ticket before you arrive in Malaga, and they're available on various websites, and it will save you a long time getting in. We would allow a good 1 to 2 hours to see around the museum at a reasonable pace. You can even see Picasso signing himself in, recreated digitally. And right by the port, which you can either see on the way in or on the way out, is the Pompidou Art Centre. Very small, but worth a picture. So let's head back to our scoreboard, which we showed you right at the beginning of the video, and rank Malaga on a number of criteria. First off, access into town to see the sights. I would rate this as very good. First of all, thank God it's not a tender port, so you don't have to spend hours waiting in queue for that, and it's a very straightforward, level walk into town, failing which you can just take either a courtesy or a very cheap shuttle bus from the ship to the centre of town. So we're going to give access into town a 9. Or if you're on Seabourn or Regent or Azamar or something equally fancy like that, we're going to have to give it a 10 because you can literally jump off the aft deck and arrive in town. The sights we're going to give a 9 because it's all so accessible, there's a lot to see, and don't forget, most of the time on port stops you're only there for 6, 7, 8 hours, and there's a lot to do in Malaga for that time. Now, a word of caution. A lot of cruise lines advertise Malaga as brackets Grenada, because Grenada is a buzzword that they know will catch your attention because of the famous Alhambra Palace. Now, we went to the Alhambra Palace a few years ago, and indeed it is stunning. However, to say that Granada or Alhambra is within an easy drive from Malaga is really stretching the point. On even the best days on the roads, it's going to take you an hour and a half, possibly 2 hours. So that's going to be a 3 or a 4 hour round trip from the port. It's going to be rushed. You're going to curse it. I would not go to Granada from Malaga. However, the Caminito del Rey is just about within range. That's 1 hour away. And for those who are sure-footed or fit, it's absolutely stunning. The bridges across the canyon look out of this world. Now, on to the next category, cruise excursion or self-tour. We think there's a lot to do in Malaga, and unless you're absolutely burning to go somewhere else, we'd spend a few hours enjoying the food, enjoying the drinks, and having a look round. It's a pretty historical centre, and it's very walkable. There are several great places in town to grab some tapas and try out the Andalusian food. By the way, in our separate port guide on Alicante, we will show you an amazing tapas restaurant. Oh my goodness, we just said no more. We keep taking more food. Look at this run by these selections. What do we, okay, that one we think is squid. We'll be releasing that video shortly, or indeed depending when you're watching this, we might already have released it. Remember to be subscribed to our channel so you know when that video drops. Now on to our next category, should you buy a cruise excursion or self-tour? And this is a very important one because cruise ships excursions can be very expensive and you don't necessarily need to do them. You could easily fill 5 to 7 hours in town and still have things left over to do. And the final category on the list is Malaga a hit or a miss? For us, it's very definitely a hit. And Spanish prices are definitely some of the best in the whole of Europe. So get off that ship. Please don't sit on the deck, wave people off and say nothing for me to see here in Malaga. There is a lot to see. So several more ports of call cruise guides coming up over the next few months. While waiting for those to drop, you can watch this one now. Thanks so much for joining us on the Ritzy Travel Guide. We'll see you in the next ones.